Alright, good morning guys. I am going to do an off-topic video today. I've been working on the preemie tutorial, but we're going to break the rules today and come up with some of these babies that have been in the works for a long time. These are a set of, well, they're supposed to be part of a set of triplets that I started for my daughter. This is the one that she got for Christmas a few years ago, and she has been pestering me for the other two part of her little triplet trio ever since. So I've been working on these for a long time in and out of other dolls, and they're finally done. So we're going to do an assembly video today and put these two together and get them all three in their first set of matching clothes. So this is Evelyn by Cassie Brace. This is Nova by Cassie Brace, and this is Bluebell by Cassie Brace, and they make the most adorable set of triplets. It's been 2 years since I've painted them, so there's a little bit of a variation in their skin tones. You have to pardon that. Alright, so first off we're going to start by getting their limbs ready to be put together by getting them filled with the glass. Since these babies are bigger, if I fill them up the same way I do for a normal newborn size baby, these ones would be like a ton of weight and they would be too much. So I'm going to only fill them up just below the knees with the glass. This is fine glass beads. I get it from a manufacturer that makes it for sandblasting. So it's recycled glass beads. I have about 500 pounds of this at a time. So I keep about 100 pounds in this bucket. So this is up to about here. So I'm going to put this one down just for a second. And do the second leg. That's one leg. Humble fingers. These babies, when they're done, will be probably 8 or 9 pounds. I don't want them too heavy because of their size. It's hard on their joints if they get too big. I try not to use my glass over the top of my dressing table because having glass spill on top of fabricy stuff is kind of like glitter being spilled on carpet. You'll never get it out. So I try to keep this part away from that part just to keep the surfaces clean. This one's a little bit too much. Okay, so that part is all done. So now I'm going to my giant box. I have a 10-pound box of fluff that I buy at a time, and I have about 4 of these on hand at any given time just because I hate going to the craft store. We're, I don't know, a good 30 minutes away from any civilization where we live. These babies do not really fit very many plugs that you can buy from Bountiful Baby. So I'm just going to make sure that their legs are packed nicely so that the glass won't make its way up and come out. But we're not going to put plugs on top of them. These ones will fit their necks, but they're too big for their legs, and then the next size down is too small for the legs. So it's kind of a weird sizing for these little ones. And when I fill this, I don't want it to be squashy. I have to squeeze here, and then when you put your fluff in, you kind of want it to be the same squishiness so that it's not overtly uncomfortably understuffed. And that keeps the filling all the way down there as well. So those ones are done. The more I paint Cassie Brace babies, the more I really, really love her details. One of my favorite hands I've ever painted is actually Bluebell's. His little fists were just so stinking cute. And the detail that she gives in the knuckles and in the little squishy fat tissues beside the hand. I can't quite capture it on the video, but they're pretty amazing. There's one hand over on this set. It has similar, this one. It has that little funny web of skin that's in there that's very realistic that I don't think I've ever seen on many other kits. Almost done with legs. Okay, 4 little fat leggies, good to go. Next I'm going to come over to the arms, and I'm going to fill these up just a little bit above the elbow, right to that first crease. And there's a bend in it, so I'm going to kind of let the glass shake itself down to the hand. And that's just up to the elbow, so I'm going to put a little bit more in. Good. That one's good. That one's a little full. Okay. You get your funnels. I get mine from either a car parts store or the dollar store. Nothing with such a tiny little mouth. I do make smaller babies, and so I do have a set of really little mouth ones to use for the little tiny arm holes and stuff. But in general, the ones that have about a 1/2 or 3/4 inch opening seem to be pretty decent sized. Alright, now we're going to repeat that process with the arms. Smaller holes are hard to get the stuff in. I'm using my finger to kind of feel for the empty spots way down inside the arm so that it doesn't just plug the very top hole, but it actually fills up any of the blank spots deep down inside the arm so it doesn't make that funny concave, empty feeling when the arm is on. Alright, that one's good. Oh, I almost dumped that out. some people will ask what kind of filling is the best, and I have tried a few things. I have tried, well, when I was first started, I didn't know where to find glass beads, so at that point I found white quartz sand, and I tried that on some of the dolls that I made for my kids at home, and then I discovered that that actually made, like, the sand stuff started to discolor on the inside and make it look like the kits and the babies were being bruised. And so I learned very quickly not to do that. And then I discovered Bountiful Babies' existence and got the glass from them. And then I got, for lack of a kinder, more polite terminology, I got cheap, and I don't like paying full prices for stuff. So I did my homework, and I realized back where I lived in Colorado that there was a big manufacturer of the stuff out in the Aurora area. So I went out and bought about 500 pounds at a time from them, and after that I don't buy it retail anymore. I buy it straight from a manufacturer. Okay, this little arm's almost done, and then we'll move on to the heads. Okay, so now on heads, I do not like to make them so heavy that it's impossible to hold them up. So I put relatively little bit of glass in their head so that, especially on this one, she's awake, and I want her to be able to sit without having her head flop backwards and look like she's in distress. So on her, I'm going to put the least amount of sand in, or glass in. Probably just a little bit over a scoop. And it's going to pour straight into the head. Some people put tights in, but I have plugs for this, so there's no reason to put waste a tight in the top of her head. It's a little bit light. I don't want it to be so light that it also feels off because it's not heavy enough. And then this is where a lot of your fluff will go, because you have to fill up your head. You have to fill up all that empty space that you didn't displace with your glass in order to have this realistic feeling. You also don't want to overfill it, because you don't want to make the head misshapen because you stuff it so full. So I'm using my fingers to push it down into the back of the neck, and then up into the cheeks. Over by the ears. Not displacing her face. I don't want her face to stick out so that her nose is like really pushed forward. And if you get too much in there, you start noticing that happens. Okay, so we tried to order neck plugs for these babies, or neck rings, which is this white part on Evelyn. It helps with their heads to be able to turn when they're on the body, but we ordered the wrong size for this one. So I'm going to put her together temporarily, and then when the new part comes in, I'm going to take her head back off and put a new plug or a new ring on her. This actually does fit her, so I'm going to put that on just to keep everything inside nice and tidy. So when she's fixed, or when we get that new part in, we'll take her head back off, put a new ring on, and call it good. About a scoop and a half or so on my scoops. I would guess my scoops are maybe about a cup worth. I don't know, I've never really paid attention. But about 1.5 scoops is sufficient. And I want it right on the top of the head so that when you're sitting it in there, it can balance. That's where you want the weight to be. I don't want it way back here, so that if it sits like that, because then the head's going to flip back. So if you leave it on the top of the head, then it will distribute and kind of sink and sprinkle itself all throughout the head and make it not such a lump in any one spot. That's the reason I also don't use tights in the head or pantyhose, because I don't want it to be a lump in just one spot. I want it to distribute itself through the polyfill and kind of make it kind of a solid, not a solid, it's hard to find the right words, just to distribute it evenly dispersed throughout the head so it's not heavy on any one side and sinking and sagging. Now my daughter actually wanted only painted hair, and I have begged her mercilessly to root hair on these two because I think it would be so stinking cute to have the three of them having just a light dusting of hair. So, but she just says she likes painted hair better, so that's why they only have painted hair. Okay, so now they're ready for their bodies. So they both have the same body that came with their kits, or maybe they didn't. I think we bought them from Bountiful Baby because I don't know, just because that's where they came from, I guess. I don't know. Alright, so I have a plastic tub and my pantyhose. And these are the support stockings that you get from Bountiful Baby. I think I buy them in 6 pairs, 12 individuals. Because that's the least expensive way to do it. And I'm going to put probably 4 or 5 scoops of glass in this. So this is going to be balanced right through the entire center of the whole body. And I'm going to leave my stocking nice and long rather than pushing it down all the way to the bottom, because I want this to take up the entire inside of the body so it's distributed evenly. So I'm going to reach in from the bottom of my body and pull it up inside so that it's laying like a sausage across the back of the body. So I'm going to push these up here sooner so I have more space to get the body prepped. I have a case of these that I bought straight from the manufacturer as well. Wonder Wafers, just go to wonderwafers.com and you can find them. I put that right in the middle of the belly button area, directly onto the sack of glass. Alright, and this is where it takes a little bit of practice and precision. I want to completely encompass this sack of glass all the way around like a pillow or a blanket. So I'm going to put a little bit on the top, and then I'm going to grab the glass and the body and flip it onto its side. And then flip it onto its back, and this is where it's super important on its back, because you have little butt cheeks you want to fill up. You want to make sure that they get the amount they need to keep their shape. And what I'm feeling for through the body is the feel for that body bag that full of glass. I don't want to feel that touching any of the surface on the actual body. You want polyfill touching the body and not the bag of glass. And then I'm going to keep going around and around. These are big girls, and so I don't want them so floppy that they just fall in half. So they're going to get kind of padded good, just so that they will keep their shape when they're sitting there. If they were smaller, it wouldn't be so much fluff. They could curl up better, but bigger babies aren't quite as floppy. I can feel an empty spot kind of right at the base of her bottom. I do this without the limbs on because it's easier to use the arms and the leg holes to get to all the empty spots. And I can feel the body bag, and you can see it touching the back of the body. So I'm going to pad that with this. And then I'm going to tuck that just right into the neck area. Don't even have to cut it. You can cut it. It makes some of the best pony holders, headband things for my hair. I don't use regular pony holders anymore on my hair because it breaks my hair, but those things don't. That thick band at the base of them. It's pretty awesome things. Okay. You can kind of feel a concave right there, so I'm going to fill that up a little bit. Alright, I think this baby is ready to go into her body. It's still nice and squishy, so if I had to, she could curl up. So we're going to start with her legs. And put her leg in the position you want it to be in. Not all backwards because it may get too tight. Well, these little ones have waited about 6 months before they were finished being built because I had to do them in between other ones, so it's really neat to see them coming to the last step and being put together. I always tighten it just so I can still make it wiggle, but so it's tight enough that I can't pull it right back out. She still has full mobility, and that allows me to sit her up and make sure that when she's in the sitting position, she's going to be supported. I'm actually going to cut that off because it does not want to tuck down too far. Alright, Nova. Aw, you're so cute. Sitting there like a big girl. Alright, next step, I'm going to snip my zip ties right at the base. And then I'm going to cover them up with the body so that they don't scratch any part of the kit or anybody handling it. I'm going to push it back and sink that nub. And some of these holders are a little bit more spacious, so you kind of have to wiggle it. This one may not work. Actually, I don't know if I want this one sunk because I have to take her head off, so I'm going to leave that one exposed slightly so that we can get to it when it's time. The best tool for this trade is a pair of cuticle cutters that has the slanty edge on it. It allows you to get right up next to the edge without hurting or scratching any part of the kit. Okay, Nova is done. We're going to let her lay there for a minute while we turn our attention to Evelyn. Again, with our bag. Across her tummy again. And take care when you're building your bodies not to understuff, and be very attentive to where your fluff is going. There's a lot of complaints. When we go to the doll show every year, we get a lot of babies that are brought into the Dolly Hospital for body makeovers because they don't like the way they're stuffed. So pay attention to how you're doing that so that your customers end up very happy. Little tushy's kind of squishy, so I need to add some more fluff. Make sure it keeps its shape when her legs are on. I think we're good. Alright. Just kidding. I don't want any of that touching her body, even if it's at the crotch area. Make sure you have your polyfill not poking out of the edges. I won't have to take her body off, so I'm hoping I can get her neck ring worked out so that I can sink that. The ones around the neck seem to be a lot more tight. Oh well, I'll have to probably fiddle with that a little bit to get it sunk. Use some crochet hook and help make a pocket for that. Don't just wrench on it and make it as tight as you can possibly go, because then it will have no movement. And it'll be a pain in the bum to get it to position and pose for your new parents or for yourself if it's for you. Alright, now they're both complete and ready to join their sister with their first matching. Okay, how does anybody with triplets ever do this? Ugh! Okay. Their first trio together. So now we're going to put them in their first matching set of outfits. Bluebell, you sit there for a minute. Nova, you sit here for a minute. Evelina, you're up first. I'm going to throw all my trash away. Diapers.
I forgot to get the diapers out.
Okay. Hold that thought for a second. I'm gonna grab the diapers. They have big butts. Let's see. Diapers. These big butts take probably size 2 or 3, but what I grabbed is size 3 just because that was the closest. This is their outfits. These are their shoes. Aren't these the cutest little things? We found them on Amazon. They have not been glossed yet. We do that after they're assembled, but I'm not going to do that until after I get them. Probably off camera because I don't have the stuff near me. Cute little fat legs. Crisscross.
There's Velcro on the back.
Oh, well that's clever. See, here I am just being a derp. Best kind of shoes, you don't have to tie them. Oh, how about that? They don't really fit, but they're still cute. untie it before I finally decided it was needed to be cut or something. What a derp. Alright, one baby down. You're up next, Nova. She has such cute eyeball color. So pretty. German glass eyes are... Never seen another one exactly quite the same color, but those are so pretty. Give you a matching nappy. Straps are a little long. We'll have to modify those and shrink them up a little bit. Till then, we'll tuck them in the back of her pants. basket with your sisters. Move over, girls. Everybody has to share. So cute. First time together as sisters.